Hello, everybody, and welcome back to some 5v5 squad splits. We got 5v5 Grand Arena coming up very shortly, so we need to dive into how we're going to be splitting up our teams for this season. This is more focused on endgame type players, so Kyber 1, Kyber 2, that kind of thing. So I don't have like bare minimum teams. This is mostly focused around kind of adapting to the current Datacron system out there because it changes season to season, and it's a little bit easier to get back into 5v5 than it is to go into 3v3 because you were playing 5v5 all along, DW and everything else. But this is the first time we're using set 15 Datacrons in 5v5 Grand Arena. So we're starting with attack squads or offensive squads first, as I typically do. And right here, the first one we got is a Supreme Leader Kylo Cheese team. So I didn't put this in the flex squads slot because you don't get a massive boost of damage to Supreme Leader Kylo right away like you do with his own Datacron. This is assuming we're going to use the First Order Special Forces TIE Pilot Datacron, and this is very strong on offense. You can cheese anything, they're not going to figure it out. The AI is not going to go for Supreme Leader Kylo. You can honestly just two-man a lot of stuff too. I don't know how far I'd stretch that. I don't know if I'd try a bunch of GLs with it, because eventually they might kill Supreme Leader Kylo if you have no help. But if it's just Supreme Leader Kylo and First Order Special Forces TIE Pilot, try saying that 3 times fast, they might just they're going to go all out on him most of the time and not get anywhere. But this is a good squad for a lot of extra damage, passing the team back to Supreme Leader Kylo. Sith Trooper for extra damage in there because Kylo's not starting off the battle with an insane amount of damage. You could run First Order Officer if you want to. I would recommend High Speed if you do choose to do that. Also, Bane, kind of a given. I mean, his Datacron's still around. I do like the pre-taunt with Sith Empire Trooper, but anything with really high relic, the higher the relics, the better. For a Sith with Bane, so Assassin, a lot of people took to R9. Talon sometimes is a good combo just because of the extra stat boost, but I like to protect Bane rather than have someone that hides in stealth. Also, JML, you still have set 14 that has protection as a stat, so they're still a really strong team. I would recommend just focusing on protection stat as opposed to going for a specific Datacron ability. I do have a Cal one with a higher offense level 6, but most of what JML does is still encompassed just by the protection up. I think this is going to be an extremely valuable offensive team this season. I don't know how it's going to do against JMK, although I do think it could be pretty good because the protection disruption is cleansable that JMK is inflicting. We got a lot of cleanses on this team. I also think Lord Vader's pretty easy. This is a pretty easy counter for Lord Vader. Supreme Leader Kylo's got a great chance. You can't mark him, but you can still avoid taunts with a lot of these characters. So Luke, Revan, and Cal are all going to be able to avoid taunts, and you can focus on Supreme Leader Kylo, get out the gate with an ability block. If you are trying to take on Leia, though, I would sub out Hermit Yoda for Mace Windu. But I still think JML will be able to do a lot of damage on Leia. And this is kind of like the top-notch team with all the Jedi Knights and then like a 5th. The only super Jedi I don't want to add that's not GL is Gas, because he's good on his own team. I don't know if this will still work for JMK. This, in the past, has been a good counter. As long as you get off stacks of Beskar to Sith Eternal, and then you give the health pack to Sith Eternal with Watt, you got an expendable tank with the Geo Brood that can summon, and then Sith Empire Trooper, even though I put him with Bane, you could be flexible. I don't know. What I am probably going to use C4 is just C4, the explosive device. What I'm going to use Sith Eternal Emperor for is just soloing something like General Skywalker or Malachus. I feel like General Skywalker is going to be a great target, especially if people are cheesing with Queen Amidala there. So it's kind of like a non-GL killer for me. No revives if you're going for, I don't know, something that has revives. I'm probably not going to use this too much, but this squad is built all around just Cal getting his insta-kill, and if it's a permanent insta-kill, then it's going to be much better. Aphra, you definitely need to overkill with the team. I do like Darth Vader in there as a 5th because you're not really using him somewhere else. And he adds a lot more damage to the team without like an Aphra super focused Datacron, you do want a little bit of extra damage output. Although most of the time BT1's getting the damage done. B2 is the best extra droid to put on the team, but I would only do that if you don't have Stap to kill the General Grievous. And you could go for the turn meter level 6 for Separatists that way, because that would give a little bit of boost to BT or B2. Maul, I don't know how he's really going to fare, but I thought I'd just throw it in there because it's still a force to be reckoned with as a team. That damage immunity on ISC and GAR is very useful. I'm not an expert on the team, and I would personally recommend keeping him with Lord Vader, and that'll be in the flex teams later on. Phoenix, I think, is definitely back in business because we don't have Doubtcrons anymore, and now their prime target, Reva with Inquisitors, might be a tough sell because you're going to get exposed like crazy. Any kind of little counterattacks going to kill you, but Doubt really shut down any chance they had against any dark side team. But now I think you got more of a shot with Phoenix. Don't put them on defense, though. They're a lot easier to counter. Bad Batch, it's a staple, but I've been getting less and less use out of them myself. But what you want to do with them, you want to run the damage reduction level 6. That does not help Omega. That doesn't affect Omega, but if you have any of the other substitutes like Cody, Shakti, anything, they're going to benefit from that. They do have the Techcron as well, so they're going to get a lot more damage from him. Omega does give protection up, so the protection disruption is an option if you are running Omega, but remember, she is not benefiting from any of the Galactic Republic modifiers herself. The Admiral Raddus team, I think it's great for targeting Empire teams, mainly just because they got a lot of extra boosts. 5v5, it's a lot more viable than 3v3, just because you get more exposed to go around, more chance of surviving. I think double tanks is the best way to go if you do have them up and running. I have neglected to relic my K2 sufficiently for a long time. I need to get around to doing that because at least 3, so I could run him with this team. His Scarab Rebel Pathfinder is a natural fit just because he keeps coming back, so he can take the hits, get all the exposes out there on the enemy, and then just come back. Bounty Hunters, more of a niche thing now in Kyber 1. It's kind of a cleanup team, sadly. Do not try to counter a Lord Vader team anymore. It's been a long time since that's been viable, so I'm not showing a Fennec Shan lead here, but she is great for getting Bosks. Contract, Wampa. Again, Kyber 1, more of a cleanup. Kyber 2 might be getting more use. Veers Troopers, again, sadly, a cleanup. They don't have any kind of specific boost to them. For a while, they had an Empire boost. Before that, an Imperial Trooper boost. So they were getting handpicked for just extra bonuses, extra stats, extra buffs, but no more. So sadly, I don't know where specifically to use them. But I thought I would give them the nod. They're great for cleaning up Java. That's kind of like what you hold them in reserve for. Unless you want to use Piet with Lord Vader. Night Sisters, again, missing a step because they don't have Doubt anymore. That was huge for them. They didn't care about dipping into their health, which made Doubt so great for them. So they were inflicting Doubt, and then they were inflicting Plague. There's no turn meter on the other side. So they were really elevated with Doubt. So when you're looking at the stats from Swiggy.gg from last season, just take it with a grain of salt because they are definitely going to lose a step. This is one, if you're trying to think of what to do with Queen Amidala if you don't have the brand new marquees, this is one idea. I'm just calling it Super Gidme. I don't know if anyone else is running it, but Queen Amidala is a support, and she's going to spawn a disposable tank that can't be affected by any debuffs or anything. So that'll really help out the team. Again, if you don't know the theory behind this, Moff Gideon, his special gives out 100% protection up to support characters. Doesn't matter if they're Imperial Trooper or not, and they cannot lose turn meters. So they're all going to get tons of courage and not lose turn meters. So that's just a really strong team if you don't have JMK, or if you want to split JMK up. I don't know. It's up to you. This one's not what I want to run. There's another Hux team later on that I just added, so we'll get to that in a second. I think Tuskens are not really a viable defensive team at the top end. So save them for offense. Good for anti-turn meter teams, CLS. I don't know. People like the juggernaut type teams aren't really like just turn meter trained teams on defense. But just pick and choose what you do with them. Phoenix, I don't know if they're beating Zori right now. Probably not. Geonosians, hold them in reserve as a Ray cleanup team. If they have the Ray Datacron, probably not going to work though. I do think Sidious is good against Tuskens, or he was, but with extra, if they have an extra health and protection cron, probably not going to work. Look out for more weak Galactic Republic Jedi teams. He's good at, and just, I don't know, just be judicious. The offensive squads is much bigger than any other group this season, just because a lot of stuff got moved down to demoted from being defense and offense, or defense or flex. So Dark Trooper Moff Gideon is one of those teams. When he came out, he had Imperial Trooper Datacross to prop him up. After that, Empire and a specific one. Doesn't have it anymore. Still good, but kind of like Tuskens, like focused on turn meter teams, turn meter train teams. So I don't know how he's going to do. We have yet to see. A couple more falling off of flex category are Star Killer. They don't have any specific Datacron that's really doing a good job for them, and they are a split alignment team, so they're getting less benefit from those health and protection crons. Then CLS, I think it's kind of an easier target for Iden Troopers or Tuskens if you're taking them on offense, so just not quite as strong. I could be wrong about that. We'll see. We don't have any specific crons for them. And with the lineup I have for Rey that I'll show in the defensive squads, doesn't use JTR, so might as well use her as a light side UFU on Starkiller team. And then Iden, mainly target for CLS. And then this is kind of like just an experiment. I'm not sure how viable this would be, but I'd like to see it tried. Hux lead, kind of the old First Order TIE pilot team, but Phosphor to put in there. And he's not invincible without Supreme Leader Kylo, so you definitely want him with Supreme Leader Kylo. But that could add a lot of boost to the team and maybe just give them the edge they need to do a lot. You're going to have that damage immunity floating around if you're lucky. So, I don't know. Just a thought. We'll see. And that is it for the attack teams. That was a lot of them. And now we have defense, and you can see by the size of the scroll bar, it's a lot smaller of a group. Starting with the Rey offense stacking team. So the thought here is you have the extra offense for debuffs being dispelled or expiring. That only boosts up Rey on this team because she's the only resistance character, but it doesn't matter the source of the debuffs. You want Ben Solo there, of course, as per usual. And then these three, there's some wiggle room, like Ufu Cal is another option, but all these three have AoE multi-debuff attacks that can't be evaded in the case of Echo and Dash. So that's getting a lot of debuffs out there. And they're just pretty good characters in general. Like Rex, depends if you're going to be using Phoenix or not. But since we have, if you have Queen Amidala running with General Skywalker to make that team a bit more of a boost, you don't really need him there. And then if you don't think you're going to use your Phoenix, I think it's an easy place there. The Holocron is amazing with the Finn Zori team. Like, I don't think it's really worth it to use with Rey. I think most people have the Relic Zori by now, so definitely slot those two together. You also want the level 6 that prevents anyone from dying until everyone's fallen below full health. I think maybe Night Sisters was a decent option for this last season, like okay, but without doubt it's not going to be great, and you're going to get a lot of holds from people trying Night Sisters, so keep with it. For the trade team, I think you want to stick with set 14. It's one of the few, because I want you to go, or you should probably want to do the level 6 that's like Amplify Agony and let you ignore taunts. High health, I think, is great, because the team just stacks a lot out of health with the protection up, bonus protection, or maybe not even protection up, just bonus protection. And yeah, it's really good. I mean, on offense, I think it's an option for both Gungans and Queen of Mandala. So we'll see. I don't know. But to me, it's until proven otherwise, it's just a really strong defensive team. And then Trench. As long as you give Watt to Trench, you have the Trench Cron, you have a good level 6. It's actually a tough team to deal with. So I definitely think this is worth it with Django, Dooku, Newt. It's always a question of who's Watt going to give the text to. It could be really good for you. It could really be really weak. But I think it is definitely worth it to set, and you might steal some banners even if you don't get a hold. For Galactic Republic Jedi, last season I was going with Keller and Beck lead. I think this season I'm going to run more Qui-Gon lead, just because he does. I mean, Beck's Omicron is for TW, right? So in TW you definitely want Beck lead, but in Grand Arena, I think you want Qui-Gon and still keep the Keller and Beck level 9. So they're still getting a little bit of a boost from Beck's unique. And this team's going to hit really hard. 5th slot's kind of flexible, but I think Mace is pretty good there. If you want to run GK, that's probably the strongest, but we'll see. Then Dash. This is more of a banner stealing annoying team. It's something you don't want to use a really strong team on, but you can't just underestimate it or you will lose banners. I don't know if I'll be setting this or if I'll be putting Dash with Ray. It's just TBD. Actually, don't think Iden should be on the defensive squads anymore. That's kind of a holdover. This is you should also think and you should battle down the Gungans. But I don't have them, but a lot of people do at this point. Those extra drops were great. Hope I'm ready by the next time Jar Jar comes around. I think I'll have to be. I'll just buy shards with crystals if I'm not ready. But that's going to be a great defensive team. I think you could use it on offense, but it's just so difficult to deal with their Crons. Probably Jar Jar Cron over Boss Nass in 5v5, just because it is a little bit easier for the enemy to deal with those extra stacks of the shield generator. And then Queen Amidala, if you do have all the marquees and relics, I definitely go with this. It's hard to make a team work in 5v5 and 3v3, I think. I don't know who the last two are going to be. I think Barris makes a lot of sense. And then Plo Koon just for giving extra turn meter to the team. If they can't game turn meter, maybe I'm done for that. I think they can. That'll be embarrassing if they can't. But yeah, it's a pretty good team. And then Saw kind of fell off a bit without the Charut Kron. I do think it's a decent defensive team still. Might just be a banner stealing team. And I don't really know what you'd use it for on offense, so that's why I kept it here. Next, we're going to do flex squads. And then last, but of course not least, is the flex squads. And a lot of the best teams in the game are here. These are just teams where you couldn't go wrong, either offense or defense. A lot of times offense, though, isn't the best value because they have the highest potential value on defense, but it's up to you. So first one here is JMK. I say this is definitely the best team all around with this data crunch structure. You got the Padme level 9, Long level 6 with the protection disruption. It's just a really tough team to deal with unless you mirror. I don't know how JML does against it. Supreme Leader Kylo with First Order for Special Forces. Datacron can do it. But it's really hard to deal with. They have Taunt Ignore, they got reduced damage from attacks out of turn, they got extra health and protection from the level 3. It's just a tough team to deal with. So keep an eye out for that. Leia also pretty flexible offense or defense. I don't know how well it's going to do on defense. I think this is more of an offensive comp, Admiral Ras and Jin, because the AI doesn't necessarily know they got to kill Radis first and might get stuck on Jin. On defense, I think you might want to do more of a old Ben, Captain Rex lineup or something like that. Just more threatening teams that are more annoying. Like the AoE days from Rex is annoying no matter what. And I put high offense here just for the stat. Like I think they benefit a lot from that stat because they do tons of damage even without crits. And they don't have a lot of like physical damage. Like Drogon's a special damage character, so that's why I think offense there. For Jabba, I still like Skiff on the team, but if you take out Skiff and put in Boba Fett, then you're going to be benefiting more from the dark side health and protection cron. However, the key character you want to survive is Boosh. So, so I don't know. I don't know if you want to use like a light cycle run just to get a little bit of a boost here, like 30%, or just go for good stats from set 14. I think it depends. I don't know. We'll see how it works. And then for Lord Vader, I definitely think it's a flex team. I think Maul, Royal Guard, and Piet are probably the best to have here, and then Crew as well. He fits really well with his team. He's a Ufu, so he meshes with Lord Vader's leadership. But you also want that lengthy level 6 First Order ability, because as long as one First Order character is there, at least this is how it's been working, it's active. So you're going to get damage immunity on Crew Lock, because it picks a random First Order ally to get damage immunity. If the leader is damaged, it juices up the leader the way that it's written. Non-First Order leaders benefit from it too. So definitely Crew's going to be pretty popular with this set, like in 5v5. Like, he can make a lot of teams have a pretty big benefit when they're not benefiting otherwise. There's no other datacron that's really applicable to Lord Vader unless you're using Inquisitors with him. Last Galactic Legend here in this set is Supreme Leader Kylo. So if you have the Slicker DC, it's definitely a very strong datacron as well. It's not just First Order Special Forces. And I think you want to make First Order Officer and Hux as fast as you can. Which one goes first? I don't think it's a huge deal. I mean, on defense, I think First Order Officer might use the wrong ability first. He might do his second special anyway. But Supreme Leader Kylo starts off just hitting super hard. You could do Crew here if you're not using him somewhere else. Bo-Katan Mandalore is still amazing, even without her datacron. She's not going to be like insta-killing the whole Lord Vader team, but still really strong. You can run, I think the 4 essential ones are the 3 new characters, Bo-Katan, and then the flexible slot is either Mando or the Armorer. So it just depends if you want to use them anywhere else. I'm still probably going to use them on offense, but definitely a good defensive option. The Malicos team, still really strong. Can kill Rey, even with that extra offense datacron. But it's a little iffy. So it's not like 100% like it used to be. I think Ninth Sister throw on an Inquisitor cron on there, a lot of armor pen for Malicos, and you can get some exposes from, Purge being dispelled, and also get some extra Purge out there for another chance at a debuff on Rey. Actually, no, that's for Starkiller, so that doesn't matter as much, so forget that. The reason you can't run Malicos and Starkiller together in 5v5 is because you can't have both kits active. You either need all Ufus or you need the splits where you only have a few Ufus to make Starkiller work. So Starkiller's definitely on his own. I think Reva Datacron is definitely the way to go in 5v5. I mean, Ninth Sister is really strong, but you want Reva to be the tank, and that counterattack is actually really annoying, because they're going to have a lot... whoever's going against Inquisitors probably going to end up with a lot of exposes on the team, and then the counterattack, something they don't usually have a lot of counterattacks. I mean, they got Fifth Brother counters on his own, but Reva will pop those exposes, inflict ability block. Just going to be a really strong combo. And then General Skywalker, I alluded to it earlier, and Arnold had a video showing how much they can do with Queen Amidala there. I think offense or defense, it's going to be a threat. On offense, it'll allow you to cheese. On defense, it'll just give an extra tank that's annoying to deal with, extra buffs and such. But yeah, we'll just have to see. I mean, I might be using my Queen Amidala here, because I don't have a full team for her to go with. And you can't put her with a Galactic Legend, otherwise it's just a waste. Next we got Malgus, and he is more vulnerable to Jedi Cal, but I don't know. He's great on offense against a few really strong teams. Dark Trooper Moff Gideon's falling off, but Reva and Malicos, we'll see how he does against Reva. I don't know if the Inquisitor Crons kind of defeating that, but definitely a strong offensive team as well. This, if you don't have JMK, or even if you do have JMK and you want to really be creative and split them up, I think Cat on this team and the Protection Disruption and the Padme Cron is going to be a really strong team. So I don't know what you do with JMK, but if you don't have JMK, there's a slam dunk team. If you do, maybe you could do something creative with JMK. And then last team that I could think of is General Grievous. I initially had him on defense, but on offense, it's still really strong as well. I think defense, it's going to be a pain to deal with, but on offense, you can take out some pretty strong stuff. You definitely some Galactic Legends as a possibility. Probably JML. I wouldn't do Supreme Kylo because they ramp. He'll ramp up his health and protection so much. You might be able to kill all the sides though, so maybe that's a thought. Definitely, if you have the Stab DC Omicron and the DC, this is going to be viable either way. If you don't have Stab, throw in probably BB-8 and then just the good target lock, level 6 from set 14. And it's going to be pretty good. Try to get health if you can. But if you can't be a choosy beggar and you don't have all that stuff, that's probably fine. I'd say focus on the abilities before caring about the stats. And that is it for the flex squads. So yeah, that's it for this video. 5v5 coming up very shortly, so make sure you're prepared and get stuff done before lock, and then set those defenses accordingly. Don't let old lineups sit there. Thanks so much for watching, everybody, and I'll see you later.